Welcome to the Refrigeration Mentor podcast. Once again, everyone, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to these shows because we're always bringing the top guests. We're always bringing great knowledge, and hopefully, you get a chance to share it with others because it's really important that others find out about this because this is knowledge that is coming to you free and it's helpful knowledge because the experts that come on, they share great stories and it's something that can improve your life and your career. Today, I got a special guest, a good friend of mine, Roman Baugh, who had an amazing journey in the HVACR industry so far, and it's just getting started. I'm excited to learn a little bit more about Roman, and I really want to dive into his journey because it was similar to mine on how the career progressed and continues to progress. And I want to make sure that if you're out there, you're in the field, you're working on the tools, it's amazing. I love that, but there's a lot of career path inside refrigeration and HVAC, and we want to dive into that today. Roman, welcome to the Refrigeration Mentor podcast. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Thank you for having me, Trevor. This is something that I am very, very passionate about. So a lot of people who know me in the industry and my background and my technical expertise is in BRV, VRF, and I'm very passionate about that as well. But I am also very passionate about mentorship and technicians wanting more, growing to their full potential, and not settling for what they have on a day-to-day basis. Because as a lot of people know, technicians, we have this mindset of fixing things, but we also have this mindset of never settling. And some people have been told that's a bad thing in our industry. And I don't think that it is, right? There's a healthy way to never settle and always strive for more. And yeah, I look forward to diving into that with you.
Yeah, no, and I'm super excited about this because I know you started off as an installer, I believe, and a technician in the field. Like, let's hear a little bit about the story and where you're at, where you came from, and all the way to where you're at today.
Okay, no, I'd love to dive into it. So, a brief overview about myself. I am a third generation tradesman. So, that means that my grandfather owned and operated his own AC company, which also did electrical. My father followed in the same footsteps, more or less, in that aspect, and owned and operated his own AC company, full mechanical as well. And then unfortunately, he passed away at the age of 19, and I kind of got thrusted out into the HVAC world, not knowing what I wanted to do, and tried to get out of the HVAC world itself, finding myself gravitationally pulled right back in again because it's something that I'm actually very passionate and quite frankly good at. So with that, I have been riding around in my father's truck since about the age 10. I started keeping track about the age 16. While my friends were in high school out partying in the summer, I was crawling under houses, running thermostat wire and flex here in Florida, as well as roughing in houses in the attic, just busting my butt nonstop. So I never got to live that party lifestyle, but I think it was a great thing because it actually helped me build early on a great working attitude and mentality. Hard work pays off, right? From there, I ended up becoming an HVAC installer around the age of 19 after my father passed away, slash service technician, worked in a residential company. They laid me off because they didn't have the ability to work in the wintertime, right? That's the common practice in our industry, unfortunately, and double-edged sword, if you will. It's great in the summer, everybody's busy, but then in the wintertime for smaller companies, they let people go because they just don't have the work. I was one of those people. And so I actually from there became an HVAC foreman for a very large multifamily residential company. Not a clue what I was doing. I was a technician, I was an installer. And here I am leading a crew of 4 to 5 guys doing rough ins on apartment complexes. From there, I became a lead foreman of a 8-story, 450 multifamily apartment condo in UCF, Orlando area. Huge building called Northview. Spent 8 months there every day, the nitty gritty in and out problems, meetings, RFIs, speaking with engineers, redesigning stuff, going through the aspects of learning how to become a leader. Because I can tell you right now, if you think becoming an HVAC technician is hard, you should try to become a leader. It's even more difficult in a way, but in a good way.
Yeah, let's talk
Uh,
about that. That's a good point before we go because we got lots to go through. So you started out as a technician and then you got into a foreman role. Like, what was that process for you into that? Because you said it was something you didn't know. It's scary outside the comfort zone. Let's talk about that process a little bit.
So, as technicians, it's easy to pick up a skill set to learn, let's say, low voltage. Yes, it's a difficult and sometimes menial thing to dive through and learn something like that, like a task. And as technicians, we do that. And so when we switch that over to like a leadership role, such as myself, where I had to work with a crew of 5 guys and effectively communicate the issues that we were having, how to fix them, how to resolve them, and essentially how to communicate properly to different people, that in itself was a huge undertaking. And a lot of that comes down to swallowing your pride, understanding who you're working with, right? We're all human beings, and it's easy at a young age that I was to have a chip on your shoulder, to feel like you have to prove to everybody that you deserve to be here. I think that's something that we all struggle with as human beings in general, and that's something that you learn to just stop listening to. Right? You're where you are in life because you deserve to be there. There's this innate voice that we all have in our minds that tells us that we're not good enough, that we're not doing enough, that we don't deserve to be here. And I can tell you right now, that's not something that you should be listening to on a daily basis. It can be very demotivating. And I can tell you, had I had listened to that voice, I would not be sitting here today wearing this Kalos uniform that I extremely enjoying the job now. Yes, being a foreman, it's easy to, at a young age or even at any age, when you're a foreman and you have this leadership role, to feel like that power that you have could go straight to your head, that you're in charge of people, that you're here to boss people around. That's not what you should be doing as a leader, right? If you get placed into a leadership role, it's about, how do we find a way to complete the task in an effective way with the talent that I currently have before me on my team. And that's it right there. That's the nitty gritty, bare bones basics of what you should be doing. And that took me a long time to learn. That, unfortunately, a lot of knockdown, drag out fights and conversations and stress, sleepless nights, sleepless days, doing night work, it just wears on you. And so, yeah, that's something that was very difficult to learn early on. And that eventually, once I realized you understand how to effectively communicate with different personalities and people, and treat people like human beings for who they are, and start inspiring people to do the best that they can because you see what they can do, and their best, and then working towards what that end goal is. It was great. Yeah. I had a lot of fun doing that, a lot of experience.
So I'm assuming here that like a lot of people that get into a foreman role or service manager role, they don't have any coaches or mentors or take any training programs. What is some tips for a technician who wants to move maybe into a foreman role? What kind of tips, when you look back, that you may could have advanced a bit quicker? Because I know for sure, you even said it, you're hitting roadblocks, you're disappointed in what's going on because you just haven't learned or had that experience. What are a few tips someone that wants to transition into that role that you could give somebody?
Well, so no, it's a great question. Everybody thinks that being a foreman means that you have to know every single tiny little bit about the work that you're doing, right? So if you're an HVAC foreman or if you're an electrical foreman, you feel like you have to understand every single facet of what you're doing. And I would say yes, that is a big proponent of it. But the other side of that is that we, us as technicians, have that mentality of that if we get something presented to us that's new and that we don't understand, we can figure out how it works, right? And what to do with it. The side that you can't do that with is communication. And so if you're someone who's getting into a leadership role for the first time, if you're becoming a foreman for the first time, if you're even considering getting into a leadership role in our industry, one of the key things that I would tell you to look into is not do the research on what you're trying to do, if that's VRF or if that's, mini splits or if that's multifamily. It's not to focus on that because you can pick that up easily through instructions and learning and classes and videos. The stuff that you can't learn off of that stuff is actually learning how to effectively communicate with people. I would say if you're going into a role like that, invest in reading literature, speaking to people, getting coaching on it and stuff like that. Public speaking isn't something that comes naturally to anybody, and myself included. I hated public speaking, and now I'm very comfortable with it. It's like a muscle. You have to use it and flex it and work it out like the human body to get it strong to where you're no longer worried about speaking in front of people or being on a podcast with the famous Trevor Matthews. So with that, I would say focus on learning how to effectively communicate with people. That's it. If you can master that skill, if you can learn how to speak and understand people, different people's types of personalities, and how to effectively communicate with them so that they understand where you're coming from, you understand where they're coming from, I can tell you that it will open doors that you didn't even know existed in your career and your career path. You could go anywhere you want to and do anything you want to if you can learn how to effectively communicate. Because I can tell you right now, that is the one skill set that many people who are in higher leadership roles never even invested in and don't do effectively. It puts you ahead for sure. It's something that I had to learn the hard way many, many times of banging my head against the wall. And if I was speaking to myself in the past, I would be telling myself, learn how to communicate with people. It's something that's so basic and rudimentary that we take for granted. You talk to people on a daily basis. I talk to my wife, I talk to my kids, I talk to my coworkers, I talk to the person bagging my groceries at the store. But you don't ever really think about how those interactions affect our life, or the things that we say and do and how we act really play out. So
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And there's things you can do because public speaking, I think, is the number one fear everybody has. It doesn't matter
yeah.
where you're at in the world. I think that's the number one fear most people have. So there's things that you can do, like you can do like Toastmasters, because that's globally, you could do
Yes.
that. There's Dale Carnegie course, if you never heard of that, and look in that. And there's just going to networking events as well, to go like the HVACR symposium and go and talk to people and putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations, because over time, just like you said, you putting those reps in to for communications and public speaking, it's going to get easier, better, and faster. Just like being a technician, your first day in the job, you're like, what am I getting into? I don't know anything. But after 3 or 4 or 5 years, you're going out there and crushing it, right?
Well, you do it almost with your eyes closed, right? You don't even think about it. When you've been installing AC equipment for 10 years, you don't have to think about what tools you're pulling out of your tool bag. You know what your tools feel like when you stick your hand in your bag to feel exactly what you need when you need it. It is the same exact thing. And you hit the nail on the head, Trevor. Going outside of your comfort zone is extremely uncomfortable, right? It's called a comfort zone for a reason. It's a nice little square box that we live in on a daily basis. It's the box that you, when you go home at night and you sit in front of your television and you turn on your TV and you eat your dinner or whatever it is you do on a nightly basis, that's your comfort zone. Growth does not happen inside your comfort zone. If you are looking to grow as a person, if you are looking to grow as a technician, it doesn't happen by sitting in that nice, comfortable square box with your couch and your TV. No, it happens by going outside of the comfort zone and doing things that are extremely uncomfortable. And one of those things, the Dale Carnegie is a great one. Toastmasters, I know a couple technicians who wanted more, right? And they took their own time and money and effort and did Toastmasters, and now they're service managers, right? In a matter of months, they took their mentality of I don't want to do this anymore, and I don't want to be in the field anymore, and I strive for greatness, and they invested in themselves. And it was a difficult, yes. They would go up there and they would shake holding their piece of paper, right? And they're cracking in their voices and stuff like that, but they pushed through. It was uncomfortable, but they had a goal in mind, and they pushed towards it. And so another one too, I did not by choice, right? I had someone who was a leader in our industry that pushed me to go outside my comfort zone and what that looked like. And so I did what's called BNI, Business Network International. It's the same thing. You go once a week and you speak in front of people for 60 seconds, and it pushes you outside your comfort zone to talk about what you're looking for, like, leads that week and stuff like that. I did that for 2 years, extremely uncomfortable. And these are people you get to know. And still 60 seconds talking in front of like a group of 30 people. Oh man, forget about it. I was a mess. I was a train wreck. I would
Yeah.
sleep the night before. I would just shake in the
Yeah.
60 seconds beforehand. You can hear your heartbeat in your ears. I mean, it's a whole thing. But that experience in itself pushed me to be a better person, and it has. And I am now reaping the benefits of that with my career and where I've gone and what I've done. I've done things that I've only dreamed of, and this is just the start of my career. I don't even want to think about what's going to happen in the future because it's probably unfathomable. And yeah, I don't want to get too excited about it, right?
Yeah. No,
Thinking on
and
a
I
daily
love
day
it.
basis. So
No, I love it because I know you're just getting started, and that's the thing about our industry. You went through the tough times. You got to put the work in. It's not any job. Like, I hear lots of people saying, "Oh, the trades is hard work and it's dirty work." It doesn't matter if you go work at an office. It's not easy. You got to put the time in if you want to grow.
yep.
If you just want to stay in your office desk job forever, it's going to be the same thing. And I think I go back to what you said, you get outside your comfort zone. That's the biggest thing. And that's the hardest thing to do. But when you do that, that's when your career and your life starts to change.
Yeah, one more thing to add on top of that real quick. Everybody thinks that you are an overnight success, right? You yourself as a mentor, me, myself in my career, they think that you're just an expert. You went to sleep the night before and you woke up the next day, and then here you are, right? You're just this technical expert for the entire US with all this knowledge. And people don't realize that success comes from taking baby steps consistently time after time after time. What people don't see in my career and your career as well, the 500 failures that we incurred along the way that we decided to pick ourselves back up from and work through. As human beings, we struggle with failure and accepting that that's a part of the life cycle. We think that our failures define us. And I would say, yes, they do, and no, they don't. Yes, they do because they did happen, and no, they don't, because I don't let them define me. I have learned from them, and I won't make those mistakes again, and I will move past them because they make me who I am. And so, a lot of people see this and they say, well, how do I do this, or how do I become that, or I want to become a service manager and I'm just an installer. It's those small baby steps of investing in yourself, going outside your comfort zone, taking the time to put in the work, to get noticed, to sharpen your spear. And that may not be the company that you're at now, but someone's going to notice your hard work and your skills and your abilities. And that is the offer that you're waiting for. And so with that, it's consistently taking those steps. If you don't consistently take those steps day in, day out, no different than working out. If I only work out one day a year, I am not going to get in physical fitness shape, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to be healthy, right? I'm living a healthy lifestyle. It's me consistently going to the gym 3 times a week, 52 weeks a year, right? Year after year after year to get the results. This is no different, guys. This is the same exact thing, regardless of what you do in the trades. I just want
Yeah.
to put that out there.
Yeah, no, and you're totally right. I was at the gym last week and I asked them how many times, because I wasn't keeping track, how many times have I been to the gym? So 6 months gone by, it averaged out to four times a week. It's not counting the running I'm doing, all the other stuff. People are like, well, how do you fit that time? I schedule myself. It's no different than anything else that I do. And when you do
Make
that,
the time.
once a thing, you make the time to do it. So you learned the communication side. It was real hard, but you went from a technician into the foreman. Then from there, I believe you got into a service manager role.
Yes. So I got hired on as a commercial service technician from that role to a much larger company that did about $25 million a year for
Oh,
Walmart work, for not refrigeration, Walmart work, Target, TJ Maxx, Ross, a lot of national accounts and stuff like that. We did one of the largest distribution centers for Publix, which is a big grocery chain here in Florida. I was a service technician for about a week, and I was running calls for the company out in the field. And every job that I came to was a warranty callback. And I would ask the questions of who did this work? Why was it done this way? This is incorrect. That's incorrect. No brazing with nitrogen. They didn't pull the TXV bulb off of the suction line when they brazed in the suction line. So they toasted the TXV, right? Wires were crimped and broken. Panels were missing screws. Drain lines were tilted uphill back to the unit and they were overflowing and spilling through people's ceilings and in commercial kitchens and stuff like that. And so I had this long list of all these deficiencies and quality issues. And I presented all that to our service manager and at the time, and come to find out he was just a guy who was filling that position because they couldn't find a good service manager to fill that position. And when they realized that I knew what I was talking about and the lack of quality or due diligence that was taking place within the department, because it was a lot of guys who just kind of got passed from company to company who just didn't care. They're here to collect a paycheck, unfortunately. And I know that feeling, and it sucks to get in that position yourself, but they saw that potential and they let me be a service coordinator for about a month. And then after scheduling jobs and working through all of our problem jobs for warranty callbacks, then I got promoted to service manager. And from there, I ran a crew of 13 service techs for about 2 years, doing national account work, doing Walmart, overnight work, stuff like that. A lot of times people don't realize that when you do work with big companies like that, they expect you to respond to service calls within 2 hours. So it doesn't matter what time of day it is, what time of night, you have to be there in 2 hours and respond. And so that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
Putting the reps in, that's putting the work in. We've
Yes.
done it. Like the successful technicians out there and that grow, put the work in. They don't drop their tools at 4 o'clock and that's it. You finish the job. And you gotta, I tell so many, all the people I'm coaching and mentoring, I tell them like you do have non-negotiables. Like plan your year out with your company. Like if it's your kid's birthday and you need that day off and you're on call, it's in November. This is January. You're saying November 2nd, I need that day off. It doesn't matter if I'm on call or not. You need to schedule. And most companies will respect that. They're like, wow, you're coming with a plan. You're coming with a plan. Nobody does that. And that's how you build relationship with inside the organization. And I see that after a week, you go from a technician into a service coordinator, into a service manager role because you put yourself out there. And this is what I see successful technicians doing is they take and see some things going on inside the organization and present it. They don't just start complaining about it, because you could have just went and complained about, oh, these guys are shitty workers,
Like
they're
everyone
not doing
else.
their job, and just blame, blame, blame. But you came with a solution. Like, why don't we try this? We could try this. We can check this out, and then that led to something else.
Yes.
And
Well,
that's what's so
yeah,
cool about it.
yeah. Well, so and to add to that, right? Something I learned also early on in my career is that yes, you could be the guy that says, "Hey, this is broken. That doesn't work. This guy's lazy. That guy's stealing from the company." Pointing out problems doesn't help anybody. I mean,
Mhm.
unless that's your job to find the problems, it doesn't help anybody. So if you find a problem within your department, within your company, within your role specifically, even if it's a day-to-day task, find the problem and then propose a solution. Even if it's not the right solution, if it's a workaround, if it's a temporary solution, you're not the guy now who points out that we have all these problems within the company. You're a problem solver. And problem solvers within companies are invaluable. You are making yourself invaluable. But when you see a problem, find a solution. And sometimes that solution may not come easily. Sometimes that solution has to come from conversations. But just taking that one takeaway as if you find a problem, propose a solution at the same time. Now you're no longer bringing problems to them. You're checking things off the list. This guy is getting stuff done, right? And that's the whole aspect that no one really takes the time to do.
Yeah.
So
And I like that, because it's not, and if that person that you bring the solution to just shuts you down and they turn you down, and all, you keep doing it and you feel like you're just in a cog, someone's going to notice that from somewhere else. Don't give up. Don't give
yes.
up. Maybe it's just that person is not the right person for that specific role. They're not a real leader. They might be a micromanager and they're always trying to cut costs and cut corners. Maybe it's someone else in that organization, or maybe it's a different organization.
So a key aspect to that too, Trevor, which I'm glad you pointed that out. It kind of flipped something on in my brain. Don't let other people define who you are. That right there took me the longest time to learn, and I'm still learning it today. You are not who people say that you are, right? You have no one to impress. You have no one to outwork or prove you're better than them, right? The true key to success here and growth that no one can control, right? That I outgrew my role in every company that I've worked for. And here at Kalos, which is why I'm here at Kalos, I don't see a ceiling, right? I can grow as big as I want to. I use the metaphor of like, you're a plant, right? You go to a company, they put you in a pot, and if they water you, you grow, right? But eventually you might outgrow that pot if they don't transplant you to another pot. It's the same mentality. People get into these roles, they get in these positions, even as a service technician, you start working that system of finding problems and proposing solutions. And your manager, like you said, Trevor, shuts you down and doesn't do anything about it or tries to micromanage you. That may be that person reflecting their own deficiencies on you. That doesn't define who you are. Don't stop doing what you're doing and working after it. Because, like you said, you'll get noticed. And if it's not even within your company, maybe that's a sign that this company is not a great fit for you, unfortunately. You've outgrown your role as a company and they can no longer sustain you. And then maybe they don't have a place for you. And that's when opportunities open themselves somewhere else. You start working towards that. And you'll find great managers along the way who will see and recognize that and invest in you and give you the room that you need. They'll put you in that new pot and water you even more and you grow even faster. But you'll know because of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. You start working towards that success. You find the people in your life that are going to help promote that success, right? That are going to help promote you and push you to do better and to work towards that and sustain that. So yeah, don't let people tell you who you are because only
Exactly.
you should work as hard as you did the day before. You should be only comparing yourself, which this is a problem we have in our industry, comparing ourselves to other people. You should only be comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. Today, I am working to be better than the person I was yesterday. Full
Yeah.
stop. That's it. Not the people I work with, not the people who say they're the best in the industry. I don't compare myself to anyone because it's a lose-lose situation. I am here to do better than I was yesterday. And if I can do that, today's a great day.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens or if the ship is on fire, right? And I've stepped into a rat's nest of hornets and stuff like that. Today's a good day. That's it. And it's that positive mentality, positive outlook, not letting people define you, working hard, putting in the work. I mean, these are all the little golden nuggets that I had to learn the hard way, unfortunately. And here at the age of 32, I still have a lot of learning to do, right? Every day is a day. A day where you don't learn anything is a day wasted, in my opinion.
You're so right about that, because that's what I do now. I try to be better than I was yesterday, or at least learn 1% more today than I did yesterday, to continue to grow, because even 1% better today over 365 days is a huge improvement.
Yes.
Even if you do it every 2 days, it's a huge improvement. So I love this. I love having these conversations. So you went from a service manager now to, I believe you went to one of the largest manufacturers in the world, if not the largest manufacturer in the world. How did that come about?
So it's funny when I went. So here's one of those things. You'll get to a place in your career where you can either continue to move up, or you can continue to move up maybe in a specific direction, but find that you're required to sacrifice your core beliefs, right? So we all have those morals and core beliefs that shape who we are as a character and as a person. And you'll find that in your career, at some point, someone will test you, your career path, your position, your manager, whoever it is, to see if where you stand with those core beliefs and your character values. And I got to that point as a service manager, and I actually ended up stepping back into the field as a service technician slash business owner with someone who I saw as a mentor in the industry. And so I actually did business ownership for about 6 years and helped create and grow a business here locally here in the Orlando market, which was centered around VRV, VRF, which is kind of where I got my foothold in at. I did that for 6 years.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. So, because I skipped a step there. So, you went from service manager back
Back
into
into a
owning
truck.
your own business, though co-owning a
Yes.
business. Like,
Yes.
tell us
Yep.
about that process, like that, because I know there's a lot of technicians out there trying to make the leap, but they just don't know how to. It's scary. And what did you have to do? That's a mindset shift as well, like huge.
So when you get to the point as a technician where you find all of these people who have just been soured in the industry, who have learned all the wrong ways to do things, who have all the wrong attitudes, who are here to just collect a paycheck or screw customers over, and we've all met them, unfortunately, and they make up a lot of our industry as well. And you can find them everywhere you go. I saw that, and it bittered me that our industry didn't have people who were striving for excellence, who were doing what they should do on a day-to-day basis that was morally right, right? Fixing a unit that takes a capacitor instead of selling them an $18,000 system that they don't need, right? It was that decision and judgment being made on a daily basis. And that's what happened. As my role as a service manager, I found that I was being pushed to lie, cheat, steal, and I was being trained this on a corporate level. And
Wow.
I thankfully, my wife, out of all people, told me, gave me an ultimatum and said, "Listen, you're either going to change or this isn't going to work out, and I want this to work out." So I made a change, and I went
Yeah.
back to the field, which required twice as much work. I went from a cushy office chair to working 14 to 20-hour days, including on the weekend, to build a business, which was extremely hard. And it was in that building process of the business that I went to BNI, that I did the hard work of learning how to do public speaking and sales and networking and interrelationship building of just talking to people and building that customer basis and learning new technologies and doing a lot of things that I was very uncomfortable with. But it was for a purpose, right? I believed in what I was doing and I followed what I believed in. And because of that, I learned a great lesson as well early on in my career, is that if you chase money, money runs. Those guys out there who need to hear this, of going dollar to dollar from company to company to company, you will never catch that dollar, right? You will never catch that tagline that you're hoping to catch to be successfully well off. Now, if you change that mentality and that focus and you start chasing your passion in the industry, whatever that may be, you will find that money will find you. And you'll find that it's not about the money, guys. It's about following your passion. The reward and the fulfillment that you get from following your passion and helping people will be 10 times greater than any monetary compensation that you could get from any kind of role in this industry or in this world, for that matter, in my opinion. And so with that, that's why I got into ownership, right? That's why I went into business ownership, because I could do things the way that I saw they needed to be done, the changes that need to be made. I could make them happen. I can hire the right guys who are ethically sound and want to make good on a promise of doing what's right for the customer. And I did that for 6 years. And then unfortunately, my business partner wanted to take the company in a different direction than I felt I was drawn to. And we kind of had some key disagreements. And so we parted mutually. I sold my shares back to the company. Actually, I gave my shares back to the company so that they could continue to provide for their families and stuff like that. But In that transition, I was found by one of the world's largest, or the world's largest AC manufacturer, Daikin Comfort Technologies. And that's when I went into that technical support role. Going through a service manual on a daily basis, putting the work in, learning the technology, learning how it works, ins and outs, working on it on a daily basis, and just pushing myself to fully understand something gave me the technical expertise and edge that no one else had in our industry. And the manufacturer found that. They found me through social media and my posts and networking in general. And from there, it was a win-win. They said, listen, we were already considering you for the job before you even applied. And that right there speaks volume. And so from there, I took that role, and man, I have learned so much from that role as well. You don't really know how something works or what the process is from a manufacturer standpoint until you work within the manufacturer on the backside of it. So
I
what
totally
a
agree with that, because to grow, sometimes you have to do things that are real uncomfortable. Like
yeah,
when I went to work for the manufacturer, I took like a 30 or 40% pay cut. Like
yes,
people said, you're out of your mind. Why would you do something like that? Well, today I own my own business.
yeah,
Today I make more money than I did at the manufacturer. You know what I mean? And but
yep,
it's not about that. It's about what I've learned, just like you learned working at this manufacturer. I have skills now that are some of the top in the world, just like
yeah,
you, because of the education they gave us, the knowledge they gave us, the support they gave us. Making a shift like that, going to work for a manufacturer that you believe in, that can back you, is huge. You will actually, you not might, you will take a pay cut, especially if you
yep,
work like you work 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. You make okay money, but
yeah,
then you got to look at the life that you live when you go to take a position like this. You're not working the 85 hours a week. When
yeah,
you look at the hour per rate, you might be doing okay. You get to spend more time with your family, maybe. You get the paid trips to different events, learn how to
yep,
network. Because when I worked for the manufacturer, they taught me a lot. Taught
yes.
me a lot.
Yeah. Well, and that's the trade-off. You see these guys who are chasing the dollar that they never catch, right? And working the hours and putting in the time. Before you know it, it's been 15 years and they're still chasing the dollar. And they're still working 90-hour weeks, 100-hour weeks, right? That's not sustainable, guys. What you're supposed to do, and what I feel the key to success here is seeing and setting your goals where you want to be in 5 years. Where do you want to be in a year? Where do you want to be in 2 years? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? And then shifting your mindset, instead of focusing on how much money you make, focusing, how do I get there? What skills do I need to be that person? What do I need to perfect in my life, or go get training on, or get involved with to get more experience to get to where I want to be? You start doing that now, and you start doing that planning and forecasting as to where you want to go with your life, you'll find that the puzzle pieces just start falling into place and you end up there. And for me, that was always working for the manufacturer. I got to see compressor design from, because the Daikin as a manufacturer, we were founded as a company from Japan. We celebrate our 100-year anniversary actually next year. And so with that, I got to see how Japan actually designs their compressors. I got to see predictive failure analysis and AI being integrated into an HVAC systems on the VRV VRF side. I got to see 27-story hotel high-rise buildings with our equipment on it. There was a job in particular where I was called in 8 hours prior to, where I had to be on a plane to go investigate some premature failures on a very high-end client here in the US, on a very tall building. Stuff like that. If you feel like special forces, if you will, of HVAC, right? You're the person where the buck stops. It doesn't go any further than you when you get to the manufacturer side. There is no one else to turn around and say, yeah, it's that guy over there's fault. No, it's you. It's your equipment. You manufacture it. With that, I have had an amazing time, and I loved my experience that I got from Daikin. And I would say that it's some of the best experience I've gotten in the entire industry, bar none. And you get to do a lot of crazy stuff. I was flown all over the US looking at all sorts of crazy stuff in government buildings, and to top secret facilities, to extremely huge hotel high rises. I got to see how compressors are built and designed and tested. I got to see our R&D labs, the actual software and programming that we use to generate how we do what we do as an industry. The peek behind the curtain was very cool for me. Yeah, it definitely was one of my life goals for sure.
They make you an elite technician.
They do,
They
yeah,
make
and
you
they
elite
don't
tech. That's what they did for me.
They don't play around with it either. No, they get you all the training that you need when you need it. Dollar amount is not a figure of
Yeah.
understanding. They just say you need it, we're doing it right now, and that's it. And they give you the best of the best training, and
Yeah.
they get you there. And so I would say if you have the chance to go work for a manufacturer, obviously don't sell yourself short. But sometimes that does require you to swallow your ego and say, you know what, I don't know it all, because that's really at the end of the day, we no one here in the U.S. knows 100% about everything. And so it's
In the
swallowing
world.
that pride and understanding that that's not me, and keeping your mind open and humble to learning will open a huge amount of doors for you as well.
And don't think it's just super easy. You go to a manufacturer and all of a sudden it happens. You got to put the work in. I put hours and hours. I was on salary, maybe like you, but I put so many extra hours that I wasn't paid for to develop myself. These different trainings they offered for me, or these educational programs that were in the evenings or on the weekends, I did it because
Yeah.
I wanted to grow, and they supported me on that. And that's really how it helped me develop myself, and lots of skills that I would have never gotten, like even writing an email. Before I started at a manufacturer, I couldn't really write an email, to
Yeah,
be
there was
honest
even
with you.
there was even words that I had trouble spelling still at this age, right? We all have those words, or just categories as we go through life, and yeah, emails is one of those things too. Yeah, you also learn how corporate companies work and operate, how they make their decisions, and determine what their budgets are and what we're willing to do and why we do it. The one thing is when you're sitting on the outside as a contractor or a service technician, you go, man, the manufacturer should really do this about this, and they don't really understand that when you get to the manufacturer side, you realize, well, it's done the way that it's done because if you do it correctly the first time, you don't have that issue. And that's something that we have a hard time digesting as an industry
Oh
here in
yeah,
the US.
I
We
think
have
that's
this
global.
mentality. Yeah, when that may be global too. Yeah, right. We have this mentality of, man, if they just change this, it would fix it. And then you go back and you have to really reassess it and say, well, if they changed it, sure, would that fix the problem? But what if we actually did it the right way the first time, right? What if we actually took the training and we did the pre-work and we did the preparation and we ensured that it was the correct application and the right sizing and we did the testing and we did all the manual J, right? And go through the entire process of checking all the boxes and doing our due diligence, which is something that not only people have heard that word a lot in our industry, doing our due diligence and making sure it's done correctly, that you don't actually have these issues. And that was probably 99% of the conversations I had to have, unfortunately, and learn what that process looks like when I went to go work for the manufacturer. So
Yeah, and I agree with you with all that stuff because I've seen it firsthand. And once again, like you can point lots of blame. I see it all the time, pointing blame. Do our manufacturers perfect? No,
no.
but look at where you're at, what you did, and how you did it. Because lots of times, especially the trouble, it's just like you. Lots of times, I've just read right out of the manual. And, "Oh, you're an expert, Trevor." Well, this access information is just for you. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
right in front of
Yeah.
you. You look it up on your phone
Yeah.
today. It wasn't like when I started 18 years ago. There was no real Google. You can just go search a manual. It wasn't that
What?
easy. So today you have the opportunity to grow, and this is just one other career path. It's not necessarily you need to go into a manufacturer, but I just seen the growth from you going from different roles in the industry, and propelling your career. So you're at the manufacturer now, you're top level now, you're in there, you spend the time, you learn, you're at the top of your game at the largest manufacturer in the world, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, drop the mic, I'm out. So what was next?
As people, we tend to find that comfort zone. And I found my comfort zone with Daikin pretty quickly. And I am a kind of person, maybe we can call it ADHD, maybe we can just, hyper focused disorder or mentality. I found that the people who were holding my role or doing my position just really weren't applying themselves to their full of the ability. They were just kind of skating by and they were just kind of doing the bare minimum. And that's not my mentality. And that's not who I've been my entire life. And so why start now? And so I started doing more and I started doing extra and I started following things through and doing the due diligence and things that interest me and spark my curiosity. I did a deep dive on and I started learning more about, well, what do we have? Where can I learn more? Who can I talk to about this? And that in 2 years propelled me into being involved with probably 10 different departments within our company, from predictive AI logic programming and parameters to data analysis, automation, to system design, repair design, technical bulletins to procedural documentation, warranty processes, warranty analytics, just all of these things that I felt very passionate about. That you looked at it and you did the research and the homework, and then the solution would just come to you. And it's like, why aren't we doing this? And so I got involved with so many different things, doing so many things. And I found that I was constantly hitting those roadblocks again. I got to the point where I would go down this road and, oh, I have to stop, whether that's a person, whether that's a company policy, whether that's not being able to take it any further. And I kept hitting those roadblocks. And I kind of got to the point in my career where I got bored again and I got stagnant and I got stale. And I was kind of told if I wanted to move up, I would have to wait a long period of time. And out of nowhere, I started doing some moonlighting, if you will, right? Approved by Daikin, of course, working for HVAC school, doing technical bulletins and technical trainings and following my passion again and just trying to help people from where I was to where I am now and what I've learned and how to do things better, right? Inverters are one of those things that scare people. They scared me for the longest time. But now that I understand it and I've come through the other side of the tunnel, right, where the light is at, I want to go back and start helping people back through that because I feel like that's what's needed, right? I feel like that's my part. If I understand something and I've gone through it myself, I feel like I owe it to people who are going through the same thing to come through that tunnel. It's okay. There is another side. It's never going to be dark forever, right? That kind of snowballed into some conversations with Brian Orr, and they had a huge need for a commercial service manager, if you will, right? And then a green light, like this light bulb just hit my head. And I was just like, you know what? I have everything I've ever wanted. I'm working for the world's largest AC manufacturer, right? I have their Daikin on my shirt and I feel like I have all this power, but then, what is it worth? I'm not following my passion anymore. I'm not growing anymore and I want to continue to grow. And so here I am. I am the official commercial HVAC director for Kalos services here in Central Florida, as well as creating and designing content again with all these resources at my fingertips to follow my passion to help build this company as well as restructure it and work with people again and push this industry in the right direction of giving back, right? We get this mentality of as a technician, and I want to say maybe there's I might be wrong about this. There may be two different types of technicians. There's guys who learn all the stuff and they keep it to themselves, right? And they keep it to themselves because they're afraid that if they teach other people or if they give away their knowledge, somehow they're no longer useful, right? And they're no longer resourceful. And then there's the other technicians who do learn all that stuff and start teaching other people and raising them up in their own positions and kind of duplicating themselves so that they can move up and take on more responsibilities. And I kind of feel that sense of duty, if you will, to go back and start creating these trainings, start going through and training our industry about the stuff that we can't talk about as a manufacturer, right? There are so many things that I can't say when I work for Daikin. And so having that, if you will, for a lack of a better term, having that leash taken off, that corporate leash, if you will, to where I'm no longer bound by a legal team and a corporate procedures and policies to start putting content out there. And it's not content that hurts the industry. It's not content that hurts the manufacturer or anybody in general. It's just liability, right? You find that when you work for a manufacturer, everything comes down to liability. And even if it is the right thing and I need to tell you this information, I can't because you could hold me liable for it. And that I had a huge problem with. And that unfortunately is any corporate company you work for on any level. So coming back to this side, and you could talk to a lot of people and they would say, well, you're stepping back in your career and it's not about my career. I don't care what my title is. I don't care what my desk says. I don't care what people call me. I'm following my passion and I don't care, right? I care about helping people, but I don't care what people think about what I'm doing with my career. And so that's what's got me to where I am now. So I feed that passion on a daily basis and I pursue helping people because that's what I genuinely care about. And I can tell you right now, there's a lot of great things in the works right now that we're working on that is going to be just blow you away. I would have never even thought was possible to do that I wasn't able to do being held back from working from that manufacturer to now where I am. So that's what got me here. That's why I'm sitting here in front of you with a Kalos shirt on because the metaphorical leash has been taken off and now I have been told to run as fast as I can wherever I want to go. And I will. Yeah, I'm excited. So
I love that because that's such a great team Brian has and built, and all of them there at Kalos and HVAC school. It's just amazing team. I love hanging out with them and chatting them. And this is one of the reasons why I want to talk about this because your journey just getting started. You're 32. Your birthday was this week. Happy birthday anyway,
thank you.
again.
Yeah.
And you're just getting started. You still got another 2 or 3 careers in you.
Yeah. Well, and so a lot of that comes down to There's a lot of people out there who have been holding back. You're right. You've been holding back on your passions because you don't think it's smart. You don't think it makes sense. The decision isn't the best for me right now. Right. I just got stable in my career. I just started doing this or doing that. But I can tell you, life is short, man. If that's anything that I learned at 19 years old when my father passed away, and I was no longer in the umbrella of working for my father's company. Right. When you're the owner's son of a mechanical company, I'll be honest with you, you've got it pretty good. The work may suck, and you getting through it sucks, but at the end of the day, it's a very comfortable place to be. And you're sitting on the fence and you're weighing the options and you're sitting there and you're saying, hey, what am I doing with my life? Right? Am I following my passion? And am I doing what I'm really truly passionate about? And I can tell you that if you take that leap and you start following that passion, you will never look back and regret it. I can tell you that right now. And that's where I'm at now, right? So I'm sitting here with all this wealth of knowledge, all these experiences, pushing myself to do better on a daily basis and giving back to the industry and training those around me and just trying to raise the bar, if you will, right? There's a lot of stuff that we don't do as an industry because it's too hard to do, right? And I can sit here and tell you that it's easy to get where I am. It's easy to get out of a truck and into a managerial position. But as long as your motives are pure and you're focused on the right things, right? And you invest in the right things and you take the time and you do the baby steps and you work through all the hard, difficult stuff, you go outside your comfort zone, you can get there. There is nothing you can't do. And we're told that as children, right? Dream big dreams, you can do whatever you want to. But the other side of that is you got to work hard to get there, right? You got to put the work in. And sometimes that's even stop making the excuses. We can sit here and I can make excuses better than anyone. You can ask my wife. I am a brilliant excuse maker. I've convinced myself many a times not to do stuff. But at the end of the day, if I want to see the results, I've got to put in the time and I've got to stop making excuses. If you sit down and you actually map out how many minutes or hours a day you spend on what you do, if you just sit there and iPhone does a great version of this now, right? We have that screen time version of our app that tells us exactly what apps we're in on a daily basis. I dare you to go in your phone and look at how much time you spend on Facebook, on social media, in all these places where you waste time that you could be putting towards reading a success story or a success book or a mentorship or watching an HVAC school video on how to check superheat and subcooling. I mean, there is so much time wasted on a daily basis that people don't realize that we're doing. Sitting in front of that couch, like I use as an analogy, in that comfort zone, sitting in that couch watching that TV. How much time do you spend watching TV on a daily basis? Life is short. Stop wasting it on stuff that doesn't matter and start chasing your passion and spending every single waking minute you can reading, learning, talking to people, and just growing through it. And I can tell you that you will never regret it. You will never have a sleepless night, if you will, about what you've done and what your choices are. Because when you see how they impact other people in your life for the positive, that right there is worth it all to me. So
Man, I love that. I love that. I get goosebumps just hearing it, brother. How can
well,
people get how can people get a hold of you, get a hold of Kalos or the HVAC school to really help better themselves? Because I think this is really important for other people to know because there are resources out there. And it's very important to share the knowledge. And that's what I love about chatting with you. Even when we first met, you were all about helping others. And how can people get a hold of you, get a hold of
So
Kalos?
you can, you can message me on Facebook. I'm in a lot of different groups. You can find me online, or you can email me directly. That's Roman Baugh, roman.baugh@kalosflorida.com. You can also go to our website, which is hvacrschool.com. We have a lot of different events. We do podcasts. We do tech tips. We've got a plethora of resources. I can tell you right now, if you go to our website and you're diving into the tech tip section, it's a little overwhelming. So, when you go to those resources looking to learn something, try to keep a topic in mind, because if you go in there just saying, hey, let me see what they have, you're going to find we've got like 1,000 different topics and videos and tech tips that you're just going to be like, you know what? I don't even remember what I wanted to look at in the first place. There's a lot of great resources out there to follow. And even on our HVAC school website, we have a contact sheet that you can get in there and actually email us directly. And I am one of the admins that gets those emails for requests and people who want to know more and want things explained. I love seeing people who just wake up and they go, you know what? No one has ever explained this to me thoroughly, and I still don't understand it. And they'll email us, and I will sit down personally and take the time to write out an extremely detailed response explaining exactly what it is. And I can't tell you the amount of thanks and gratitude that I get from people who say, listen, no one has ever taken the time to stop and actually tell me what this means. And now that they get it, when you actually struggle understanding something and it finally clicks for you, that feeling that you get, that right there, is worth it all. If anything, that propels you forward to say, listen, I got to learn more, right? I need more of this gratification, if you will, from learning something. And so it's good. Yeah. So that, I would say, that's how you get a hold of me. That's how you get a hold of our group. Another little tidbit that ties onto that is people who are becoming successful. When you start putting in the work and you start putting in the steps, you may find, and this ties back into the what people think about you. You may find people that you surround yourself in your life start to chip away at you, right? They start to say, well, hey, why are you doing this? That's stupid. That's silly. That doesn't make sense, right? That's a waste of time. I've done that. It doesn't work. This isn't going to happen. You keep dreaming, right? That's never going to work for you. And my family was one of those people. They kept telling me, why do you keep posting selfies in front of Daikin equipment, right? That is the stupidest thing you could ever do. And I landed a job with a manufacturer, right? So take things with a grain of salt. You are who you surround yourself with. When you see that you start taking steps in the right direction and you start to get momentum in that successful way, don't let people around you bring you down. You are who you surround yourself with. The friends that you keep, the company that you keep, the people that you talk to on a daily basis, the people you confide in. And you may find that the people that you cherish and value in your life don't want to see you grow. And that's a hard thing to swallow. And it's a very tough pill to swallow because you care about these people, but you also don't want to let them hold you back. And so finding that out and figuring that out for your own life is very tricky. And I'm still learning that myself. But I would say don't let those people limit you. You'll find out who they are pretty quickly because they'll let you know. Your uncomfort, when you start doing things that are uncomfortable to you, it makes them uncomfortable. When they see you going to the gym 4 times a week, getting fit, it's going to make them uncomfortable and they're going to say something about it because now they're reflecting on their own lives and they say, you know what, I should probably be doing that. But you know what, I'm just going to tell them you should stop doing that because it's making me uncomfortable, right? We live in that society now, right? You can't, it's cancel culture, if you will. So with that, another reason why I'm at Kalos, surround yourself with rock stars, people who are successful, people who are putting in the work. When you do that, when you make those connections, and I can give a shout out to my Daikin fam out there. I've got a group of guys that I've connected with off social media, people that I don't even know in real life, right? They're just internet friends that I've been talking to on a daily basis for 2 years, and they are successful in their careers. And we push each other. We have a circle of motivation. We have people who keep each other accountable, that push each other towards success. And I can tell you, we all started as service technicians, and now we're all service managers. We run our own departments. We are creating our own company policies and training procedures. And so a lot about when you find the right people in your life who are going to push you in the right direction and invest in your success and say, yeah, you did it, man. Go for it. Don't stop doing that, man. Keep working hard. You put those people in your life and you will just soar. That's one of the things that was also hard for me to learn growing up in my career. So being here at Kalos, I am surrounded by rock stars and it feels great. I don't have anyone telling me I'm doing a bad job. I hear constant positive motivation, and that right there is worth. I mean, it's invaluable to me, right? You can't put a dollar number on it. I would take that anywhere I work. That right there is worth a pay cut, in my opinion. So, yeah.
For sure. I love that. And it goes to the old saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. And I love it. This is a huge bonus for you getting on with this organization. I love the whole team there, and I'm going to continue to work with them as much as possible. For those of you listening, this is all possible. Everything, this journey that Roman's been on, the journey that I've been on, you can do it. Just believe in yourself because you can do this. Roman, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story with us. We're going to do this again. I'd love to pick your brain a bit more on just some of the technical stuff, because I know there's so much information that people want. And go check out their website, find Roman on Facebook, and please keep sharing that knowledge.
No, I will, man. And thank you for having me on. I love talking about this stuff because it is something that if I don't talk about it, I don't get it out. Like I feel like I'm going to explode, right? This is just something that we don't talk about as an industry, right? We should be helping each other get through these pitfalls and become successful, because success is a reality as long as you understand the steps, right? And you work the system. It's a system. It's unfortunate, right? And it is hard work, but I'm here living proof, right? It gets better, guys. So if you're going through it and it's difficult, just hang in there, man. Just hang in there. But yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm super happy to be here, and I will come on anytime you would like me to.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. So anyone listening to this on the podcast, share this. This is how other people find out about this. People want to hear about this journey because there are people that just want to get to that next level and don't know it. And just hearing a story like Roman's will maybe get them to that, give them that little boost, that little push. Share it on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, any social media platform. Roman, thank you so much. And I appreciate your time.
No, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you for watching this video. I do hope it is bringing you a lot of value. If you are looking to grow and build your refrigeration teams and want them to learn CO2 refrigeration, head to the refrigerationmentor.com website, click to contact us, and let us know how we can build a culture around training inside your organization. Let's get a conversation going.